You gotta be kidding me. Rotate my...
No.
Okay.
Yo, do it again.
All right, we're gonna do it again. Okay. All right, enough of that. Okay.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Kelly, and that's Tom.
And we're doing the Tom and Kelly show again. This
And
is episode 13 for those that are staying with us.
And we're talking about a revolution, one here in town called Revolutionary Earth. Revolutionary Earth Farm was started by Christopher Brenna and a whole bunch of other land steward folks that just want to eliminate grass, grow food, give it to people in need, and to our bees and our other pollinators that are in need of nectar, right?
Nectar, so they can eat, and then also they also have their pollen for their young.
For their young, for their winter foraging, and the pollinators are necessary for growing food.
Yes.
40% of our food.
She's Kelly's our leader of our growth team, our local food growth team. So she can tell you a lot about food as we have over the episodes. But why don't we get walking back on the garden here and we'll talk a little bit about it.
Let's take a look at this farm.
I'm going to switch around here and make sure I get everything right. Okay.
So this is FARMacy Rx, FARMacy Rx, and this is sort of the brainchild of Rochester Clinic. And Rochester Clinic has a nonprofit arm called the Lotus Health Foundation, and they're into holistic medicine, nutritional medicine, and they have opened up this large space to growing food. They are trying to give food to folks and teach through nutrition, and some Mayo Health Sciences students were a part of their mentorship internship program at this garden. We started, stepping in a hole. We started this garden last year with the Village Cooperative Agricultural Community and Learning Center by putting down tarps, and we had Cambodian farmers managing this space, growing melons in preparation to really formalize this garden. And that process is called occultation, when you block light and everything underneath dies. And then you need to leave those tarps there for, I usually try and leave them there for about 12 weeks, and it blocks everything up.
Whoops, be careful, Kelly.
It blocks everything underneath so you can start growing. And the key is to not move the tarps until you've got time to manage the space. So we are walking through the space here, going up to the front of the garden where Chris and his team...
We had a little rain last night, so we got a little...
Yeah, got a little wet. They have planted a bunch of pollinators, as you can see. So this is the part of Revolutionary Earth's philosophy where we just don't want to feed ourselves. We also want to feed those that give the food to us, which is the pollinators. So we've got a lovely pollinator garden here with a lot of natives. We've got big blue stem, little blue stem. We've got rattlesnake master. We've got asters, and I just saw
asters are coming out. Yep.
Floor, on the ground.
It's a time for asters. Yep.
All kinds of stuff growing here. Coreopsis. Here's butterfly weed, Aesculus tuberosa. There's some hyssop. Oh, there's
is that cardinal flower? What is that little thing?
That's celosia.
Celosia, okay.
Celosia. Yeah, that's an annual. It just got kind of tucked in there. So
okay.
We've got a lot of really nice pollinator plants here at the front of the garden, and and there's a little blue stem, and we're gonna walk around. And here's a weed, and we got a tomato in here, a volunteer tomato.
Volunteer tomatoes, yes.
And we're gonna walk around the garden this way.
Okay.
And we're gonna look at a lot of the vines. So from this perspective, everybody can see the vines. So this area is mostly tarped.
Yep.
And what we're doing is they've cut holes in the tarps, and we've got vines coming out of those holes. They're growing across the tarp to kind of block everything. And you can see behind. So it's blocking the light even more than the tarps are, and it's also helping to stabilize the tarps from UV light so that they can last a little bit longer. So let's walk this way, Tom.
We're gonna walk that way. Let's go. All right, here we go.
So they've got a really nice selection of squashes. This is a garden that they capitalized on growing a lot of squash because they had so much space. These are some acorn squashes, and you can see they've got a titch of powdery mildew starting, which is sort of okay this time of year. It's not really bad. It made it through most of the season. And one really nice thing with these vines is if they start to get a little unruly, you can always just lift them up and move them to where you want to move them to.
Move them as they get in.
So them kind of into the garden more. So, you know, like in this kind of an area where you need to maintain maintenance for a business, kind of a business area, the mowers can just scoot right by. So don't be afraid to pick up the end of your vine and set it where it needs to go.
So that powdery mildew, is that so? Not, it's not going to necessarily kill the plant, but it's something. It's a fungus that's in the air, and it's going to
It'll eventually kill it because the leaves can't do what they need to do.
They can't do them.
It's
too late. The vegetables are already, the fruit has already been growing well.
Little tall here.
Yep.
We've got some peppers growing, and here we've got some more squash. They've got a section of zucchinis in here, more acorn squash.
Again, we got the plastic tarp here for occultation,
yep.
And then we poked holes in between to plant the cabbage and squash. And
yep.
Some broccoli.
Peppers.
Yep. Got a little marigold border here. We're trying to attract pollinators here because there's some definite need on pollinating these, especially like the squash, right?
So here you can see some cucumbers that have gone a little rogue here, kind of
yep.
like you and me, Tom.
Yeah, a little rogue.
Pick up the vines and just toss them more into the area because the mower's been coming by and cutting off these terminal ends. So I just pick up the vines and toss them into the garden, and then the mower can continue to keep this edge nice and clean.
You definitely don't want to hurt the terminal ends, right? Because that's where the fruit will be coming out. And
well, that's where more blossoms
come.
Yeah.
Yep, it'll keep extending out. So
here's some cucumbers that have been left on the ground, and these are approaching seed maturity. Obviously, we eat cucumbers when they're green, such as this one right here.
Yep.
This is market maturity, ready to go to market for people to eat. But this is approaching seed maturity, and seed maturity is important because it's sort of like someone, like a pregnancy. If a premature baby is born, the viability is not as good as a full-term baby. So the seeds are where we get more food from. It's not the fruit, it's not the leaves, it's the seeds. So if you want to save seed, you need to make sure, first of all, that you're isolating, because if you really love this particular variety, you don't want to have 4 other varieties next to it cross-pollinating, but you want to wait till they get nice and yellow, and then that's when you will save the seeds from them.
Yeah, and seed, and the seed library is really key here for us because we really, we're really trying to do more with the, right, Kelly, with the seed library. We're very active in the Rochester Seed Library, which is at the public library, and we need more people seed saving.
Yeah, we need a lot more seed savers
because we're just not getting quite the number that we need to kind of sustain it year on year without getting donations.
Yeah, the whole point of the seed library when Heidi and I kind of wrote that proposal is we want to make sure that it's a sustainable project, that we the people can sustain this project by our efforts, and we don't have to continue to expend money on purchasing seeds. So
yes.
we have a selection of 45 varieties that we will continually offer that are different than just the community supplied seeds that people just willy-nilly might save something like a Chinese lantern plant, yep. or a fun little perennial, that kind of thing. But our 44 to 45 that we want to introduce people into gardening for the first time, growing food for the first time, offering education for. It's where are you?
Where are we?
Where are you turning us around?
Okay.
So that's what we really want to get people growing, are the varieties that we offer every year. So coming up on the 21st, we actually have a seed saving class. You can log in at Rochester Public Library.
Yep.
Turn us around.
I want to see that garden here.
Yeah, there's the garden.
Okay.
So on September 21st, we have a seed saving class. I believe it's from 6 to 8 p.m. And you're so close.
We had to reschedule those. We had to reschedule those a little bit, right? Some of the
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so. We made them online.
Okay.
So you can go on the Rochester Public Library website, rplmn.org/seed. Go to the calendar for September 21st, and you will see a seed saving class. There's also something else really important coming up on the 21st, but let's walk around this FARMacy Rx
here.
Revolutionary Earth Farm
I'm going
a little bit more.
to do this, and we're going to flip around. Okay, Kelly. Yep.
So this is an area where the tarp was removed early, and you can see the weeds just blossom. So it's really important when you're doing occultation to leave those tarps in place for the length of time you need to completely kill everything. But they've got some lovely little cabbages that they can harvest here. I think they're getting close to finishing their CSAs. They usually harvest on Fridays, I believe, and to pack their boxes on Saturday mornings to do their deliveries.
Yep, we're talking Revolutionary Earth again.
Yep. And this garden is 60 by 180. No, 80 by 160.
80 by 160, okay.
Yeah, 80 by 160. So here we've got some really lovely acorn squash, and here again we've got a vine that's come off the tarp.
Let's get that back on the tarp. Yes.
Back on the tarp. Same thing with this guy. He's going a little rogue. So you just throw them into the middle, and you could actually spin them around each other and just keep a nice tight little space.
Yep.
Here's some beautiful pumpkins. I don't know which one this is, but they're deeply grooved. They're really lovely. It looks like an heirloom variety, perhaps, or at least an older variety. And sometimes when you find squash like this that may have a certain visual appeal that you want to use for ornamental stuff, you can actually change them around. Like here's one that's completely upside down right here. So
is there any concern about having them upside down with the stems?
No, it's just that if you want it to not be misshapen, so just flip it over and put the top side up. And these are nowhere near ready to harvest. You can see the stem hasn't started to flare yet.
Okay.
The base of the stem on winter squash will flare and get really wide, so you want to wait for that. And the stem is really important in the saving process of a squash. You want to be able to keep that stem on there. It protects the fruit while it's being stored in your basement or your root cellar or your garage that doesn't freeze, just a cool space. So when you harvest your squash, you want to cut it out here on the stems. You want to leave these three pieces. You don't want to cut this stem that goes directly to the fruit. You want to cut out here when you harvest them if you're planning on storing them for a while.
Storing them before you then. Okay.
And this is a really healthy looking squash.
Wow, there's a lot of them in here.
I'm hoping Chris is going to get back to me with which variety this is, because this is really nice. You can see here that the yellow acorn is experiencing powdery mildew issues, but none of these are over here. So this is a really nice, healthy variety.
Yeah, especially, and that travels by air pretty much, right? The pathogen. So,
but
those
pathogens are, induced by the kind of weather that we were having that would cause powdery mildew.
We've had a lot
of rain and high humidity.
Yep.
So here's another. You just step in carefully to not interrupt the vines, and you can just cut it. This guy's a tall one. And just flip them onto their tops.
Here's another one that's upside down.
He's upside down, so just flip him onto his top.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
These are really great squash.
A lot of squash in this area.
I was here the other day and I threw. You can see where I tossed these vines in.
Yep.
And something that's really neat about vines is they have adventitious roots here, so at nodes along the vine, they will root down in. So sometimes if you have squash vine borer at the very base, if you've got well-rooted vines, sometimes you can get by just cutting off that infested area where the squash vine borer is, and the rest of the vine can survive. That happens sometimes. I do that in my garden if I can.
So about ready to wrap up.
Okay, so let's finish up here. And we've got some lovely little butternuts. They're starting to get a little bit of powdery
butternuts
mildew,
in this area. Okay.
Well,
look at this. Get them in.
Oh, whoops, dropped that one off. So the squash also ripen closer to the middle of the plant. And the middle of the plant is in there, so obviously this little cutie, he won't be ripened by winter time. He may not be either, so you might have to use him early.
Yep.
But the closer you are to the center of the plant, the better. And just toss those vines in.
Yeah, just a lot of squash. Well, we got some more here to pull out.
This is great.
And we can do this.
This is powerful vitamin A here. So this is it. This is FARMacy Rx.
So we're FARMacy Rx. This is the location with Lotus Health Organization. And then we also have Revolutionary Earth is our farm partner. They're the ones, Christopher Brenna and that organization. Yes, they've got 12 farms going on at this time of the year. And we're helping them out with their lead farmers. And they're just a partner here as part of our local food initiative. So, very interesting. Go food. So with that, let's see. Okay. Yep. Yeah, the grand finale. Okay. All right. So with that, I guess this is episode 13. And we'll figure out what to do next time. But anyway.
Next week, we're going to be talking about food security.
Food security.
Or not. But on the 21st, you can also log into our food security assessment. We're kicking off the Olmsted countywide food security assessment that was done. That's from 12 to 1:30 on the 21st. Also, Rochester Public Library link.
Yep.
So log on to that. We need you, and we need your experience with food insecurity or growing food, or you're out of the box thinking, I'm kind of short.
I know, you're short.
I gotta get tall.
How's that? Okay.
That's maybe better. I don't know. It's going to burn your blood. But anyway, so the 21st from 12 to 1:30, we're going to have a little talk back at the end where we're looking for out-of-the-box thinking about what we can do to help our community to become more food secure, like the efforts that Revolutionary Earth Farm is doing. So
hopefully you liked our opening. And one thing that Kelly and I like to say to each other is, rock your day. Okay. All right.